All right. Now we have these questions uh, that I was talking about, types of interview questions. And we'll cover two or three types today, right? So let's say if you are asked 10 interview questions in or let's say if you are asked 5 interview questions in your interview, you'll get 1 or 2 questions around metrics mostly. Um, one question may be around product design or improvement, and one question would be either a guesstimate, yeah, and maybe one guesstimate. And finally, of course, you'll get some HR questions also. So let's say one here, one metrics question, one guesstimates question, and two HR questions. This is an example of an ideal distribution. Of course, this varies from interview to interview based on the role which you are interviewing for. For example, for product analyst roles, you will be asked more metrics questions and even RCA, root cause analysis questions, right? Um, and this is the breakdown of these interview questions based on company. So if you notice, technical questions are very less in number. So Google, Facebook does not ask any technical questions. Google asks some basic technical questions, can be based on database, SQL, or let's say designing a platform, right? The technical aspects of designing a platform. And Amazon also asks very less technical questions. So in general, technical questions are asked less. Then we talk about strategy questions, product strategy. For example, whether I want launch this product in a new country or not, or whether Google should go for an OTT platform. Google should launch an OTT platform or not. These are examples of strategy questions. And Google asks a lot of strategy questions. Design questions, product design. How would you improve LinkedIn? Or how would you design this Newton School platform was also a product design platform, right? How would you design a coding platform from scratch for newbies, right? So that is design. And then analysis can be any type of analysis, product analysis, market analysis, something of that sort. And this can include even metrics questions. And then finally, you have these behavioral questions which are very, very important. For example, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you understand by a product manager's role? Why do you want to become a PM? Right? All these questions. These are very important. So that is the general breakdown of types of interview questions. So how do you solve these questions? First is for product design and product improvement, you use the circles framework. Does anyone remember the circles framework? We covered that in the second lecture. Any idea, what do you understand by the circles framework? Because it is very important. We'll be using the framework in the next two slides.
So it's a step-by-step procedure of approaching a solution to the problem. So first of all, you comprehend the situation. You analyze what the problem is, who the stakeholders are, and why we are solving this problem, and how are we supposed to solve this problem. And then after the identification of problem, and we approach towards identifying our customer. So
Perfect.
the customer can be identified into several categories based on demographics or age or gender, whatever you feel like is suitable for your product. And
Yes.
then we understand what the customer needs and we work according to that. And then we list our tasks, we prioritize them, and uh, yeah, so it works like that. Then we list our solutions, and after all the solutions are listed, we analyze what the trade-offs will be. For example, if one solution is good for one goal, that solution can be other solution can be better for another goal. So we usually analyze the trade-offs and work according to the final result we want.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then the important part of all of this is summarization, the S part of the circles. So we summarize the whole thing, and then we present it to the whatever interviewer or your manager.
Precisely, precisely. Very beautifully summarized by GP. So we basically uh, take it step by step, and this will help you solve almost all types of questions. This is helpful for product design. You can use it for. So this is, in fact, the best way to solve product design and improvement questions. Then for problem solving, this is helpful. In your real life also, if you're solving any problem or if you're building any product, this is probably the best way to go forward. So again, correctly summarized by him. So we first comprehend the situation and ask some leading questions. For example, let's say I give you this question: how would you improve LinkedIn? So improving LinkedIn is a very broad question, right? Which feature in LinkedIn do you want me to improve? Or whether we are improving the website or the app. These are some kinds of questions which you can ask. And then we need to identify the customer. Who is the customer that we are solving this problem for? Whether we are solving this for, professionals, or whether we are solving this for influencers on LinkedIn, right? Or let's say startup founders, something of that sort. And even, we can even divide this based on the age or any other demographics. So for example, 18 to 22 includes college students, and then 22 onwards till let's say 50 includes some different kind of people, and then 50 plus would be some different kind of people, retired professionals maybe. 50 60 kalo chalo, 60 probably, right? All right, 60 plus. So age or any other basis for demographic segmentation, or like even the region, for example, or even the country, right? That can be a basis for segmentation of users. So we build these user personas, and then we identify their needs. What does the customer really want? Because we are building this for the customer and we want to keep the customer in mind at every point. And then let's say we have 10 needs, we'll just prioritize few of them and start building for those problems, right? And when we build for those problems, we list out some solutions first, and we prioritize some of them. We evaluate trade-offs, right? And I usually use the RICE framework here for evaluating trade-offs. First I identify the reach of that feature. What would be the reach be? Then I see what can be the potential impact, and then I write down the effort that would be required to build that feature or the product. And finally, I write down what is the confidence that I have in each of these metrics. And after I do all of that, the interviewer will be expecting more of me because the main part has not come yet. This is the most important part. We summarize. And this brings the interviewer on the same page. Even if the interviewer was not able to follow some of these steps before, now the interviewer understands that why did you do this step, and then why did you evaluate trade-offs, why did you do this, why did you do that in that particular order. So that order becomes very clear, and you are perceived to be a very ordered and orderly, that you presented the answer in a very orderly fashion, and that you are a very methodological approach, that you have a good approach, a perfect approach, right? So that order comes out from this approach. All right, that is how we solve product design questions. So again, I have written this down in detail. Clarify the goal, understand the constraints, understand the context, then make user personas, then identify customer pain points, post which you need to prioritize which customer needs to target first. And then you'll evaluate the trade-offs, right? You will prioritize the solutions based on, let's say, effort, impact, reach, so on. And then you summarize. So circles method is very important. All right. Now we'll be solving a product improvement question. And this is the stage things get most very interesting. So which question do you want to solve out of these? Or let me take an easier question. Um, Let me take how would you improve LinkedIn? So, okay, let's start. I am your interviewer, and of course, I'll be explaining the question along with the I'll be navigating you through this question. But I'm your interviewer. I've asked this question to you. How would you answer this? So, what is the first step? First, you need to ask some questions back to me.
Um, so what are we basically targeting? Which features of LinkedIn do we want to improve?
All right. So, let's say we are targeting. We want to keep more users on the platform. So we want to
We
retain
want
the
to keep them
users.
on. Okay,
We want to retain the users. You don't want them to leave the platform. Let's say I'm targeting that.
and this is for all age groups, right? All
This is for
personas.
everyone. Yes,
Yeah.
this is for everyone. Okay, these are two good questions to start with. More questions because you need to ask at least 2 to 3 questions. What is the NSM of LinkedIn? Good question. Because unless you know the North Star metric or unless you know the metric which needs to be solved for, you won't be able to answer this properly. So let's say the NSM is again, in this case, let's assume that LinkedIn wants to keep users on the platform. So more users should be active on the platform, right? So a daily active users kind of a thing is the NSM, let's say, or a monthly active users. Let's assume that. Okay, more questions, guys? Okay, so you've asked the goal. What is the goal of improving LinkedIn? Uh, you've asked the NSM, that is the same. And then what have you, I think you've asked 1 or 2 questions, but you need to understand the question better. So ask a few more questions, right? Which user segment are we particularly targeting? You can ask this question, yes. So we are not targeting any particular segment. I want to solve this for all the users. It is up
What
to
has
you
the
whichever
feedback
segment.
been like? Why don't users stay for long at the moment? What is the major feedback issue that we're getting?
All right. So that is an okayish question. You can ask that. So the answer to that is there's no bad feedback or anything of that sort that we are getting. We just want to improve it further, right? So there's no negative reason for improving LinkedIn. We just want to improve this in general. Which country are we targeting? Very good question. We are not targeting any particular country. We are solving this at a global scale. So one question which you've missed is that whether we are targeting the app or the website, right? This is extremely important. You cannot solve for both at the same time, or you might be able to solve for both at the same time, but you need to have that very clear beforehand. Okay, so these are some good questions that you have asked me, and this narrows down your scope, right? Now the question is very easy. Earlier, this was a very broad question and you didn't know where to start, but now you know where to start, right? You have a few things in mind. For example, you know that we want to retain users on the platform. We want to, and the main goal is to, have more users on the platform essentially, more active users on the platform. So you know all of that. What would you do next according to the circles framework or in general? Like, so circles is just a broad framework.
I have one more important question. Can I ask this? Ki, how how is the user AI user interface of a platform? Like, how comfortable is it for people to use? Is it gamified or is it a bit more complex, bit
So
boring?
you mean that you let's say you don't know about the platform and you want to look at the app. Is that what you're saying? Like you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
ask the interviewer. The interviewer will tell you how the platform looks like. The interviewer will tell you to either download the app and see if you don't have the app already. So this is a very common app, LinkedIn, but sometimes they ask some specific apps. For example, I joined Instagram. I was asked a few questions on Instagram, but I was not on Insta at that time. So I downloaded it and saw some of these features. So that is how we can understand the platform better. We need to see the platform in order to improve it, right? So the interviewer will allow you to download the app and see the app.
So
Okay.
can we ask what competitors do we have for LinkedIn?
But how would that help you improve LinkedIn?
Uh,
Like that will not
because
help you improve LinkedIn because you want to improve LinkedIn as a platform, or you might take some inspiration from other platforms. But yeah,
just because if there are competitors, they might be using their platform over ours. So
all
we can
right.
understand why that's happening.
Yes, yes, you can do that. You can do that. So you can ask the competitors and you can understand that what are they doing correctly and we are not doing correctly. So that can help you that can help you get some ideas for features to build.
Okay.
So this is the step one. Let's go back to circles. What is the next step? So we've clarified and identified the goal. We have understood the constraints. So you've not asked a lot of questions around this, but no worries. This is not required here. Context of the situation. So for context, you've asked me whether we are looking at the website or the app or whether we are targeting any particular geography. So we've asked all these questions. Next step is to identify the customer. You've done this already. You've uh, like you've so you've not divided. Actually, you've not done this. You've just asked a few questions around the customer. You've not made the customer segmentation. So let's say I have three segments here. 18 18 to 22 is the first segment, college students, and 22 onwards till let's say 40 is teens. Millennials plus early middle age, and then 40 to 60 is like the working class professionals, which are slightly less tech savvy, right? And these are slightly aged people that way. And then 60 onwards is very few people above 60 years of age would probably use this platform. So these are two main or let's say these are the three main segments that we want to target. And now that we have these three segments, we should start understanding the need. So we are on this step, identifying customer and user personas. So you've understood what is the product or feature, and you can even open the app and look at the app at this time when you are in the interview. And then you've asked the interviewer which business metrics to improve. So someone asked me what is the NSM, which is a good question to ask. And you can even prioritize one of this. What is this? Does anyone remember? AARME framework. So if the interviewer does not tell you which business metric to improve, you can you can yourself prioritize one out of acquisition. This is activation, revenue, sorry, R is referral, monetization, and engagement. Out of these five, you can yourself prioritize. So what do you think LinkedIn would benefit more from? What is more important for LinkedIn? Is it uh, acquisition or is it activation? Is it revenue? Is it referral? Is it monetization or is it engagement? Which is more important for
engagement,
LinkedIn? Yes, engagement is
engagement and
probably the most
retention.
important for LinkedIn. So if the interviewer does not tell you the business metric, he says that you can choose one yourself, or you yourself should identify that. Then you yourself go ahead and from this AARME framework that I displayed previously also, right? I think I covered this. Yes, this. So this is very similar. No, basically, ARME is a modification of this only. E is engagement, M is monetization, R is referral. Then we have activation and acquisition. So you can choose engagement here, and you can work through the problem based on the fact that engagement is the main metric that we'll be targeting. All right, so we prioritize engagement and then we start identifying the customers like I did. And out of those customers, you can either target one of those customers or at max two of those customer segments. You cannot take everyone at once, right? I mean, there's a possibility that you can do that, but it is usually recommended that you take only one or two segments forward and solve for those people. For example, the 18 to 22 age bracket would have some different kind of problems, right? While the working professionals would have some different kind of problems that are to be solved. So you might not be able to satisfy all the users at once, which is perfectly fine. So you can take one user group to start with. And once you take that user group, start identifying the user goals. Right? What are the goals of the user? What are the main pain points? What does the user want to achieve through LinkedIn? Or what is the problem that LinkedIn is solving for them or can solve for them? Right. So that is the user goals part. What would be the next step? You need to follow the circles framework here. So next step is, after we have identified the customer needs, we need to prioritize those needs, right? So next step is uh, list those use cases and prioritize on them. Right? So use cases is basically how the user is using the app or how the user can use the app. So these are the user goals, user close to the user needs only, right? So if you identify the user needs and start prioritizing on them, that is where this is basically covered. So this is essentially the same step. And then after you identify these use cases and prioritize some of them, for example, one use case can be then that when people are connected on LinkedIn, they want to schedule meetings within the app, right? They want to schedule meetings on the app itself because it might be difficult to go to a third party app all the time. So one use case can be, or one user need can be that people want to have meetings within on LinkedIn only. That can be a use case. And the need here is that people want to do meetings on LinkedIn. So that is a use case. And then you go ahead and suggest solutions. You prioritize on solutions and finally summarize. Is this process clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So this is where circles method was used. This is comprehending the situation, identifying customer needs. Sorry, identifying customer, yes, identifying the customers and then reporting customer needs and prioritizing on them. So this is R, this is C, cut through prioritization. This is listing down solutions. E is evaluating the trade-offs, which is basically prioritizing solutions, right? And I've already told you RISE framework can be is used by me here. You can use any other framework. And S stands for summarizing. Now the boot camps which teach you this circles framework, they usually charge around 1 lakh rupees for 1 month of training and so on. So basically, there's no need to go into all of those boot camps. I've already told you, I tell everyone which I talk to, like every person which I talk to, but basically these people just, just for the sake of a framework or these high sounding terms, they charge a lot for product management boot camps. And a better way to learn these concepts or these frameworks is to either go for books, right? Either read books like Cracking the PM Interview or Decode and Conquer. Or second is to do those online live training boot camps, which are cheaper. For example, this course is free for everyone. And there are other courses also which teach you the same thing essentially, but at cheaper prices. So before going in for a 1 lakh kind of a course, and there are lots of them, believe me, before going for those courses, you should think about it and maybe think about not spending so much on those courses. So this we've solved live. All right.